SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB.
I'll call the Public Utility Commission meeting to order. This is Chairman Nelson. I have Commissioners Hanson and Fegan with me. It is 9:30 a.m. June 2nd, room 413, the State Capitol Building. Just maybe a procedural note, the two Excel dockets, unless there's any objection, we're going to move those to the end of the calendar today. And seeing no objection, we will move immediately to status report on consumer utility inquiries. Deb Gregg.
Good morning. The Commission received a total of 70 contacts since the last report was prepared for the May 19th, 2026 Commission meeting. 3 contacts related to telecommunication services, 53 contacts related to electric service, 1 contact was related to wireless service, 2 contacts related to natural gas, 3 contacts related to unwanted calls in the Do Not Call registry, 1 contact was related to wind energy, and 7 contacts related to issues that are not regulated by the PUC. 629 of the 672 contacts received in 2026 have been resolved.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Gregg,
Yes.
have we received very many? I'm receiving a lot of phone calls from folks in Worthing and that area for outages. Have you been receiving those?
That's a great question. Yes, I have. That is why our numbers are so large on the 53. I've been in contact with Steve Kolbeck, and he's been great at getting me the information. From what I understand, and the outage reports that I've had, there was a residential digging. Everything was marked. The customer, the residential individual, decided to do one more scoop on the weekend of Memorial Day and hit a line. Everything was marked correctly, but they had to go out and make those repairs. So it was out for a bit. Then on the heels of that, that Thursday, there was an animal or vegetation contact, and that turned the power off. And as I understand from Mr. Kolbeck, those lines are set during these dry conditions under what they call the wildfire settings, so they're very sensitive. So when they have that animal contact or they have, vegetation contact, instead of that doing that reclosure and starting back up, they turn off and they send out crews to visually look at the lines and make sure it's safe to turn it back on. So that does take some time, but always err on the side of caution. We don't want a fire. And so they restored power. It did take some time. But it's interesting, I did, because I brought my stuff up. I thought I'd get questions. They didn't have, in 2021, they had 4 outages that were a little over 2 hours. In 2022, they had 1 outage for 1 hour and 16 minutes. In 2023, they had a 1 hour and 36-minute outage, and nothing in 2024, I should say, 45 minutes, nothing in 2025. So I just think these outages, I don't think the service is unreliable. I just think they've had large outages in a short amount of time, which I understand is their frustration. But from the information I've been provided, it was kind of out of Excel's hands.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gregg. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments, and I think maybe the thought I have is, we're kind of in a new paradigm with these, all the utilities moving to some kind of wildfire settings at the appropriate time. And, once they've got some experience with that, it might be worth our doing a little bit of checking to see, what's really the impact of that on outage lengths.
Yep,
Because it is a new paradigm, it's a new world, and it would be worth us having some data to understand that.
And I would like to note too, Excel is going to send out letters to the customers in Worthing explaining what happened, just kind of touch bases with them. But I know on the second outage that Thursday, Steve Kolbeck and I understand the president were in the area and did go into Worthing and visit with customers, so.
It would be worth you getting a copy of that letter and
Yes.
perhaps sharing that with us. Thank you.
Absolutely, thanks.
Additional questions? Okay, thank you, Deb. Is approval of the minutes of the commission meeting held on May 8th, 2026. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. Motion carries. That brings us to TC 25-038, in the matter of the application of LTE Wireless, Inc. for designation as an eligible telecommunication carrier in the state of South Dakota. And the question is, shall the commission grant LTE Wireless's request to withdraw its application without prejudice, or how shall the commission proceed? I don't see LTE Wireless here or on the phone. I do see the intervener in the room who's, come to oppose this, or no? Just listening. Okay, we'll go to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Logan Schaefbauer for staff. I have no objection to the request to withdraw. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
I do have
Motions?
questions
Yeah,
of staff. So when I read the filing and I read the intervener's data request and your data request, it appeared that you were you guys were doing the work on the filing. So when do you say as a staff person, hey, you need to refile or you need to get this appropriate? I'm not going to spend hours and hours and hours of taxpayer money of South Dakota so your filing's correct. And I don't know. I looked at the intervener's data request first and then yours, and it just looks like you guys are doing the work.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is Logan Schaefbauer again for staff. Yeah, there was a lot of emails behind the scenes to the applicant, and we did get some responses to data requests, but one of the first real communications that we received back in this docket was the request to withdraw. So that's kind of how this unfolded.
Okay, thank you. And I know we're South Dakotans and we want to help people, but sometime we'll have to draw a line when we have to really do their filing for them. But I appreciate the comment and that they withdrew quickly. Thank you.
Additional questions? Motions?
In TC 25-038, I move that the commission grant LTE Wireless request to withdraw its application without prejudice.
Discussion on the motion.
Appreciate the filing, and staff, I wish you the very best when these are incomplete and how you can protect the resources of South Dakota yet still be kind. Thank you.
Additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye, motion carries. Okay, we're going to move again the Excel dockets to the end, so that will bring us to EL 26-014 in the matter of the application of Crown Ridge Energy Storage 1 LLC for a permit for an energy conversion facility. The question is, shall the commission assess a filing fee not to exceed $287,000, and shall the commission authorize the executive director to enter into necessary consulting contracts? And we'll go to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jenny first for staff. Staff requests that the commission assess a statutory filing fee and authorize the executive director to enter into necessary consulting contracts for the processing of this docket. Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of Crown Ridge, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have no objection to the request and no objection to the calculation of the proposed filing fee.
Thank
Thank you.
Questions? Motions?
Mr. Chairman, in EL 26-014, I move that the commission assess a filing fee not to exceed $287,000 and that the commission authorize the executive director to enter into necessary consulting contracts.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. Motion carries. Brings us to EL 26-016 in the matter of Otter Tail Power Company's petition for approval of rate schedule section 13.09 phase-in rider. And the question here, shall the commission assess a filing fee in the amount of up to $250,000 to account for actual expenses incurred in review of this filing commencing from the filing date, and shall the commission grant the executive director authority to enter into necessary consulting contracts? Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Amanda Reese for staff. Staff just requests the commission assess the statutory filing fee and also to grant the executive director authority to enter into consulting contracts. Thank you.
Thank you. Otter Tail.
Good morning, Chairman. Lauren Donofrio on behalf of Otter Tail Power Company. We have no objection to the filing fee or the calculation thereof or the authority granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Motions, questions or motions? In EL 26-016, I move that the commission assess a filing fee in the amount of up to $250,000 to account for actual expenses incurred in review of this filing commencing from the filing date and grant the executive director authority to enter into necessary consulting contracts. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. Motion carries. Okay, that brings us back around to EL 25-031 in the matter of the petition of Northern States Power Company doing business as Xcel Energy for approval of its 2026 transmission cost recovery eligibility and rate adjustment. And the question is, shall the commission approve the revised 2026 TCR rider revenue requirements, revised 2026 TCR rider adjustment factor, and revised tariff sheet with an effective date of July 1st, 2026, or how shall the commission proceed? Ms. Malhoff.
Thank you. This is Brittany Malhoff for staff. Staff would request that this docket be deferred today.
And deferred to the next meeting or just deferred?
Just deferred at this point. We'll bring it back on another date.
Thank you. And Xcel, any opposition to that?
Good morning. This is Rebecca Eilers with Xcel Energy. No, we have no objection. We're happy to work with staff on their additional questions.
Thank you. Okay, well, then that brings us, that will be deferred till a later time. That brings us to EL 25-033 in the matter of the petition of Northern States Power Company doing business as Xcel Energy for approval of its 2026 infrastructure project eligibility and factor update. And the question is, shall the commission approve the revised 2026 infrastructure rider revenue requirements, the revised 2026 infrastructure rider adjustment factor, and the revised tariff sheet with an effective date of July 1st, 2026, as filed on April 29th, 2026, or how shall the commission proceed? And with that, we will go to Xcel. And what, just hang on. Before we do that, let me check to see. Colton Kennedy, have you joined us online?
Yes, present.
Okay, perfect. Then we can go ahead. Xcel, go ahead.
Good morning. This is Rebecca Eilers with Xcel Energy, and we want to thank staff for their review of our petition. It's been a longer process this time to make sure we were able to coordinate with all of our rate case processes as well, and we thank staff for their additional time and effort with this docket. We have a lot of experts available on the line to answer any questions commissioners may have. So with that, open it up to any questions.
Thank you. Staff.
Thank you. This is Brittany Malhoff for staff. Staff filed a memo in this docket, and we'll simply refer to that and recommend the commission approve the revised 2026 infrastructure rider revenue requirements, the 2026 infrastructure rider adjustment factor, and the revised tariff sheet with an effective date of July 1st, 2026, as filed on April 29th, 2026. And staff is available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Fegan.
Thank you. So these riders are always very interesting to study, and I was doing handstands in my hotel in North Dakota when I was at SPP meetings last week because I study at night, and the memos were out early, so on Tuesday and Wednesday I got to see your staff memos, and when I study, it's fun to see those first when I look at all the filing information, so thank you for doing that. My first question actually was from the rate case too, but it's the settlement on the $100,000 and $250,000. And so talk about that in this filing and if there's any impact in this filing for that, because a lot of the costs we don't see right now. And then can the commission change that anytime if we see that there's misuse?
This is Brittany Malhoff for staff. There was one project added to the rider as a result of changing that threshold. That's the Saver Switch Replacement Initiative project. And that's the only impact that change had here. As far as whether the commission can change that is at any point, it is part of a settlement agreement that the commission approved. So I guess I'm not an attorney, but in my opinion, no, I don't believe that we can change that. It's part of an agreement that was approved by the commission.
And Ms. Malhoff, that has a 3-year, so it's 3 years that they need to stay out, right? Was that it, the settlement?
That's correct.
So the staff and Xcel will be looking at that threshold the next 3 years, and the commission, so that isn't misused, because I didn't think we could change that anytime we wanted to, and I just wanted to make sure that that's how I read the settlement and make sure we'll continue to look at that. But I can see why the Saver Switch was added in there, and I did see that. I just wanted to see if there was anything else in there. So we're going to go to the major additional projects for Xcel. Xcel, these are for you, and it looked like you had about, I think there were about 4 or 3 major projects with the advanced grid intelligence and security, the wildlife or wildfire, which could affect wildlife, service centers, a couple service centers in there. What type of amounts do you think that will be in 26 in the jurisdiction for South Dakotas?
I'm going to ask my colleague Lori Tremble to answer that question. Lori, do you have those numbers available?
What is, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
The additional projects that you put in 2026 infrastructure rider, especially the major ones, which are the advanced grid, intelligence and security, the wildfire, and the service centers. What approximately will be the jurisdictional revenue requirement for South Dakota? Because we don't see a lot of numbers yet.
Hold on. I need to go into my files because I don't have that.
Great. I can come back to you on that. I'll come back to you on that.
That would be great. Thank you.
I'm going to go to the wildfire next because this is one of our first filings on wildfire. And we don't see a lot to it, the filing. But we can certainly see the four major items that you're looking at and the costs. So we don't see the costs, but we see the four major items. So what are you looking at for costs for 2026 in South Dakota? I hope that's not me, but it is. I get to buy donuts for everybody.
Cool.
And the problem is I can't even find my phone. Okay, this is weird.
Well, while Commissioner Fegan is finding her phone, I am going to simply echo one of her earlier comments about the 100,000 versus 250,000. That was probably one of the elements of the settlement that I was very uncomfortable with, but understanding the nature of a settlement, was willing to agree to it. But like Commissioner Fegan, I will be watching that pretty carefully, and if there is any hint of abuse of that, why, we'll roll it back, and frankly, I'll roll it back as quickly as we can.
Just the record reflect, that was not my phone. That just happens to be somebody that I am the POA for. So that was the phone. So with that, I'm going to go to the wildfire questions. Did you hear my first question on approximately the cost of the wildfire in 2026 in the South Dakota jurisdictional?
Good morning. Yeah, this is Rebecca Eilers again with Xcel Energy. I'm looking at our updated filing that we filed most recently, and I believe on attachment 2 of the filing, I'm just trying to sum up all the wildfire costs for 2026. It looks like, if I've done this correct, and I will leave it to Lori to check my numbers here, but it looks like approximately $2.1 million attributable to the wildfire mitigation costs in 2026. And that's at the revenue requirement level for South Dakota.
Okay, and the...
Yes, that's correct. I'm sorry. Earlier I thought you were asking about 2027, and I didn't have that prepared. But yes, it's 2.1 for wildfire, and Aegis is rolling into base, so there's no revenue requirement in the rider associated with Aegis.
Okay. So how do you distinguish between reliability and wildfire? Because it looks like some of them are like repair of operational. So how do you distinguish that? The normal reliability work and then the wildfire?
That's information that is determined by our operations folks. Do we have a distribution or wildfire person available?
Yeah, this is Ryan Flynn from Xcel Energy. So a lot of the work that we're doing to support wildfire mitigation does have an incidental benefit of providing increased system reliability. The potential ways for ignition to occur tend to correlate with ways that the system would fail. So as we're looking and doing work to address high priority defects and the OPA program, the intent is to reduce wildfire risk and the likelihood that an ignition would occur, but it does provide some tangential benefit to the reliability of the system as well.
So when you have those four main items, do you have an idea, like when the cameras or the conductors or any of that, what the time frame is on those to be replaced or put in? The feeder lines?
I can speak to, I can speak to some of these programs. The wildfire cameras, we are currently at 3 of the 4 that were identified installed. We're working through the siting for weather stations to confirm that we're able to get the right information. The system resilience projects and the operational mitigations, I will need to assess where we currently stand. I do not have the details of those projects' execution offhand.
What type of impact will you have on insurance premiums? Have you seen that yet?
that it's something we don't currently have analysis on.
So staff, the wildfire is new. How will you make sure that the costs are reasonable and prudent when they bring all this together? I mean, it's a tier 1 and a tier 2 area pretty much. Tier 1 is very low. Tier 2, there's only some. How do you determine the cost and the prudency, or what will you do in the future on that?
This is Brittany Malhoff, staff. You're right, the wildfire risk mitigation plans are something new to staff. I think one thing we can do is, compare across utilities, but that's hard to do because they're all in different situations when it comes to the wildfire risk in their areas. It's something that we're still learning and relying on the company to determine, what's necessary to mitigate their risks. I don't think we want to be in the position of determining that for them. And so I think we'll just continue to ask questions as the costs are spent, and so that we can feel comfortable with the costs that they're spending on these plans.
So the third-party consultant that you hired, do they, Xcel, do lots of wildfires, or have they been involved with your business before and they're just starting wildfire mitigation, or what type of experience do they have? I think they were used with the U.S. Forest Services on wildfires.
Is this in relation to EDM?
Yes.
Okay. EDM is supported the development of the wildfire risk tier maps. The methodology and the data sets that were used to develop those are generally in line with other wildfire uses. And the land set, or the data sets that underpin that information is what is used in California to develop their wildfire risk tiers, as well as in other locations. So EDM has supported an organization through the development of this, and through this particular data set has been used in other contexts to understand high fire risk environments.
So I can't remember if I'm dreaming or if I saw something on the news. Was there an issue down in the Canton, South Dakota area? That was just a dream, right? I don't remember seeing anything, but I think it was, you haven't had any type of shutoffs or close calls on wildfires in South Dakota, right?
I will have to go back and look at the records that we have related to this.
I think it was just a dream, and that I was dreaming that. The other thing I wanted to say on the production tax credits, I like, of course, how you staff and Xcel worked on bringing those through and flowing those through. I certainly appreciate that. When I look at, if I look at everything, so I look at the rate increase, the decrease or the credit that you'll get in the infrastructure rider, and then the transmission rider that we're not looking at yet. So a residential customer, in the rate case, that increase was about 13.5. And then with this credit and maybe with the transmission rider, it would be around 9, 8, $8.5, $9 for the increase. So what I just want customers to know, and if you guys could verify that for me, customers, yes, Xcel increased your rates, and we voted for that in the rate case, but with the credit of the infrastructure rider. And then we'll look at the transmission, but the transmission. So what is the?
Thank you. This is Eric Paulson. I'll see if I can take a stab at this. So I think the rate case was roughly around, we'll say $13 for your average customer. It was $750. The prior infrastructure rider was a decrease of about $4.27. As proposed in this infrastructure rider, it would decrease it another 69 cents. So then, I guess technically it would be a decrease of 69 cents off that $13. And then the TCR, which we deferred, was a 27-cent increase.
Right.
From where it was, so it's still pretty close to that $13 mark. It's maybe like $12.60 instead.
Because I was thinking of that
total package
$4 credit that was from a previous.
Yeah, the $4. Currently, the credit would be about $4.27.
And that's just the true up.
That's the effect of what the current infrastructure rider rate is.
Current meaning 25?
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. Thank you.
Additional questions? I've got just a couple. Maybe a comment. I mean, Commissioner Fegan makes a good point in that, you know, these wildfire expenses are new. We understand that they are necessary, but that doesn't mean that there's an open checkbook. And it will take us some time probably to kind of understand what is appropriate and what might not be. But the message to Xcel is there is not an open checkbook here, and so understand that you're going to have to answer for these things. The question for Xcel, these AI cameras that are going to be located or that are located in South Dakota, where are they?
So the cameras that are being installed have a view shed of the Tier 2, Tier 3 locations. So the areas that have been identified with higher wildfire risk, we can provide the detailed locations if need be.
Yeah, those, I would appreciate that being filed so that we know where those are at. Second question, in your April 29th filing, and we don't need to talk about the numbers, but you indicate levelized cost of energy for a solar project, and you've got a figure there. And my question is that number before any of the tax credits, or is that after the tax credits?
I'm sorry, what number are you?
So the April 29th filing, third page, first full paragraph. And this is in relation to Sherco Solar 1 and 2. And so there's a number there, and what I want to get at is that after you've gotten the tax credits, or do you take the tax credits off of that and the actual cost ends up being lower than that number? That's what I'm trying to get at.
This is Rebecca Eilers. I believe that includes the tax credit, that is our levelized cost, all inclusive of what we're aware of at this time.
Okay, you believe that or you know that?
I was hoping I could get a little support.
This is Chris Strauss. Sorry, it just took me a second to find the reference, Commissioner. But yeah, Rebecca's right. So that's inclusive of tax credit.
Perfect. Thank you. And the last question is for staff. There's discussion about a new natural gas turbine and 5 RICE units. My question is, these are going to be replacing some existing unit. The existing units that are being replaced, are they fully depreciated? I didn't find any discussion about that, or I missed it.
Colton, do you happen to know that answer from your review?
I actually cannot answer around the what's currently included in rates. My review is on the technical condition of the facilities and their economic need and efficiency.
Well, let's have that discussion then, as you all are looking for the answer to my question. So, Colton, you reviewed the old units to determine their economic viability, is that correct?
Yes, and I can provide an opinion in summary of that review.
Yeah, if you would, greatly would appreciate that, and I, greatly appreciate what you provided for us in the rate case docket. So if you'd kind of do the same thing here, that would help.
Yeah, absolutely. What the company is doing is they're replacing aging existing resources. Those resources are approximately from the early 1970s, and they're combustion turbine units, both dual fuel, natural gas, and fuel oil, and some units that are fuel oil only. My experience, industry experience, and just sort of general understanding of that technology and the age is that combustion turbines of that age really are some of the first that were developed commercially in the country for that size and technology type, and they're becoming increasingly difficult to maintain and support to be able to provide the reliability that they've historically done. And so the company actually evaluated the economics of bringing the reliability condition up to sort of modern standards and requirements. And those costs were over 2/3 the cost of new replacement generation. And these specific units have unique reliability needs for the system. And so it's my finding that it is prudent to replace them. It is timely to replace them. And the general technology that the combustion turbines and RICE is consistent with the reliability needs and really the economically most efficient way to meet those reliability needs. And I did conduct a cost review of the facilities as well, and the costs that are included are really in line with or potentially even a little bit lower than similar like technology generation assets that were built contemporaneously within the upper Midwest. And so I find the cost to be reasonable and the technical need to be justified.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's really where my mind was going, wanting to make sure we weren't, trying to prematurely close some additional plants, since Xcel has a history of wanting to do that. And so I appreciate your comments. Now, going back to staff, do we have anything on the question of the depreciation situation on those old plants, or Xcel, if you've got access to that question?
This is Rebecca Eilers with Xcel. Oh, I'm sorry, Brittany.
No, I was just going to ask you to respond.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have not been able to locate that information with the materials I have in front of me at this time, but we can certainly get you that answer.
And Ms. Melhoff?
Yeah, this is Brittany Melhoff for staff. I have not been able to locate that at the present time either, but we can continue looking.
Okay, so in lieu of an actual answer to that, if there is depreciation left on those, that's all covered under the rate case, and that will continue. There's no attempt here to accelerate that or anything along that line, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that I think is all the questions I've got. Yeah, Mr. Rizlov.
Yeah, this is Greg Rislov for the commission. In listening to the commissioner's questions, I had the thought of what was the original life of those facilities when they were installed? Anybody have that answer?
This is Eric Paulson for staff. It's just scrolling through a data request that we got. So the plant was originally constructed in 72 and 73 with a design life of 30 years. So
Okay.
they're 54, 53 years old right now.
And knowing that as they refurb, you really never run out of the depreciation, no matter how old the plant is, because of the, being repaired during the life of the plant. So there's always going to be some left to depreciate. I just don't know how much, work has been done and how it extended the life and that type of material, that thinking. And I'd like to follow up on something, too, that Commissioner Fegan asked. And we look at the wildfire, we're putting in distribution facilities, and then we have other type of costs that are considered to be annual costs. And so come next year or the year after, are we going to see the cost of distribution plant being expensed on an annual basis, or are we just going to see the actual return on that plant required down the road? I just don't understand where that's at. And I guess that question I would ask the company. I would ask Xcel. If they're still on the line.
Thank you. We are still on the line. I am going to see if my colleague Lori Trembrell can take that question.
And again, I guess to make it clear, when you put in certain types of distribution plant, depending on what facilities you're putting in, the life may be 30, 40, 50 years. And I assume that would go into your typical rate base accounts and be depreciated over the life of that plant. Yet, from what I saw of this, aren't you including the entire cost of those distribution assets within the rider right now? And are you looking at recovery during the year, or are you just looking at return plus depreciation on that plant?
And this is specific to the wildfire assets?
Correct.
You're talking about? Yeah. So it's, sorry, I'm just trying to pull up my schedule here. We're just looking at the return on hold on one second. These assets are not in the base rates, and we tracked all the wildfire assets separately. Is that what these aren't combined with what we have for distribution and base rates? Is that?
Well, I'm just raising that point as something I hadn't thought of. Thankfully, Commissioner Fegan thinks really, really well at 2 o'clock in the morning, and so I was just following up her question just to see how that's being handled and will be handled as we go down the road. So anyway, that's all I had, and just to put that thought in everybody's mind. Thank you.
Well, Greg, let's throw that question to staff. I mean, I think I understand how that's going to be handled, but if any of the staff want to, I mean, I don't understand that that's going to all be expensed in a single year.
Yeah, this is Eric Paulson for staff. I can take a stab at that too. One of the attachments, Exhibit 5, I think it was, kind of shows how that's calculated. There's plant and service, so there's they're not expensing the wildfire projects if it's a plant project. I guess if it is an expense, then I guess they probably would. But as far as I know, and from what I can tell from reading this and the way they've answered our questions, that they'll treat that plant just like any other plant, where they'll depreciate it. It'll be spread out over time, and they'll just recover a portion of it each year versus expensing the end.
And each year, that portion will be part of the infrastructure rider until we have another rate case and decide whether to roll it in.
Correct. Yep. And it'll get trued up each year.
Yep. Thanks, Greg. Additional questions? Motions? In EL 25-033, I move that the commission approve the revised 2026 infrastructure rider revenue requirements, the revised 2026 infrastructure rider adjustment factor, and revised tariff sheet with an effective date of July 1st, 2026, as filed on April 29th, 2026. Discussion on the motion. Yeah, so the infrastructure rider is to allow for more contemporaneous recovery of certain capital expenditures, and having gone through a lengthy filing that was revised several times, I think more times than any filing I can remember, we finally have an answer that seems to make sense and I think be appropriate for the next year. Appreciate the discussion on all of the issues that we had today. Additional discussion?
Mr. Chairman, the infrastructure rider is very complex, and the filing's been long, since October. And when you start studying Octobers and then Novembers, and obviously there were all sorts of confusions in my mind. And Greg's right. A lot of times I am studying at 2 a.m., and you can certainly tell that today. My favorite thing of this filing is the PTC credits that certainly are shown that flow back to our customers, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate one of the first wildfire infrastructure portions of the filing from Xcel Energy. It will be interesting to watch that, check for prudency, make sure ratepayers are protected, the infrastructure is protected, but also the costs are protected. So a very complex filing with confidential items in a different location that we're not used to. So it has been complex, and I appreciate what the staff have done.
Thank you. And yeah, just for the record, and Commissioner Fegan talked about a little bit earlier that this in fact is a decrease, a very slight decrease, but it is in fact. And so what that tells me is that for another year, Xcel will be able to pay for the infrastructure improvements that they are making, the wildfire protection improvements that they are making, without raising this portion of the bill. Discussion, Commissioner Hanson.
Perhaps a pertinent and an impertinent. I'm pleased that we don't have to have, and this is a great example of not having to go through an entire rate case. We can simply, not so simply, go through a portion of what would have been a rate case. Otherwise, we would have had to do an entire one. So I'm pleased to see that there was some forethought in that years ago to pass that legislation. And impertinent, I would just say that I hope that Commissioner Fegan does not injure herself while she's doing handstands late at night while she's working on these things.
Additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. Motion carries. I don't see anybody here for public comment. And so the announcement, the next regular meeting will be on Thursday, June 18th, 10:30 a.m. right here in room 413. So a little bit different date and time than we normally do. Anything else for the good of the order? Motions?
Move to adjourn.
All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. We are adjourned.
SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from Peer. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from peer. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder.